What is going on, guys? It is Kenshin Thursday once again with episode 8 and the introduction of the oniwaban group, Aoshi Shinomori and Megumi. Some great characters here. This is adapting chapter 15, 16, and a little bit of 17. I was actually a little bit surprised at how far this episode actually took us of the manga itself. Following the manga once again very accurately. I just kind of like skimmed through the pages here. And yeah, things are going 100% according to plan, according to the manga once again. So that is great to see. And we're entering into a small segment of the Wandering Swordsman arc that is going to play major roles into upcoming story events. It's going to be very important for the characters themselves, introduction of new stuff. So let's just get into it all and talk about this episode. First, just to call out a few small differences comparing this one to the 90s series. The 90s series episode 8 also begins the oniwaban segment of the series, but the pacing is going to be a little bit different here because the 90s series cuts out a few things, especially things that happen in this episode, which caused the cliffhanger ending at the end of this episode to be very different than the cliffhanger at the end of the original episode 8 from the 90s. So here is where we're actually going to begin kind of separating and going in different courses and different directions, because so far pretty much every episode of this new series ongoing has kind of lined up more or less with the 90s. Like the events that happen in episode 6 are the same that happened in episode 6 of the 90s, 7 same that happened in episode 7, 8 we're beginning the same stuff, but now because this is following the manga a lot more closely, a lot more accurately, now we're going to start to branch off in different directions, and the episode numbers will not line up with the new series at all. So from this point forward, I'm not going to be comparing episode by episode. I might just be mentioning little differences that happen in between the 90s version and the newer version, but one thing that I actually liked in the 90s version better is that Sanosuke drags Kenshin to go gambling with him, which is hilarious. He didn't tell him what it was about, and then he goes and like hangs out with a bunch of his thug friends, and they're all gambling together, and gambling's supposed to be illegal at this point in time. But in the 90s version, when Kenshin is trying to guess the numbers on the dice, the evens or odds and the numbers, he keeps guessing them wrong, which turned out to be like a really funny kind of like hilarious moment that he can predict all this stuff during sword fighting, but he can't predict the dice to be correct even once. But in the manga and in this version, he does guess them all correctly. So this is being more accurate, but this is one of those changes where I kind of preferred it in the 90s just because it made a little bit of extra humor come out between the relationship between Sanosuke and Kenshin. But that's not really important. That's like a very small, insignificant detail. I just thought I would point it out. Major importance of this episode is our introduction to Megumi. Megumi Takani, she comes in, running away from two people that are chasing her with swords. She just immediately sees Kenshin with a sword, and she's like, this guy can protect me. And already we know that she's into some shady stuff. Like, first of all, who is attacking her? Who are these people that are following her? She kind of is using a little bit of her feminine wiles to kind of not manipulate Kenshin, but like she sees that he has a sword, and so she acts all helpless and like, you know, kind of flirtatious with him as well. And when they take her back to meet Kaoru later in the episode, you know, she sees that Kaoru kind of has a crush on Kenshin, and she kind of plays that up, and she kind of says like, oh, I'm really fond of him now, you know, now I want to stay with him and stuff. So she's definitely, Megumi is a great character, but she definitely has that kind of like, we relate her to a fox a lot. Like she's compared to a fox, which when she's kind of like sneaky, a little bit behind the scenes, a little bit kind of manipulation of the situation. You know, she's somebody that kind of like, you know, pushes things to be the way that she wants them to turn out to be. But she's not a bad person. She just has a little bit of that kind of like sassiness, kind of a little bit of that intrigue to her. But she's being chased by these people, and they don't know why until one of the members of the oniwaban, Beshimi, comes out, and he's got these little darts. His thing is these little darts that he throws, which the episode even like adds in a little like gunshot click like before he taps it out, which is hilarious and awesome. Definitely enjoyed it. But Beshimi isn't really physically strong. He's just got a skill set that is very useful. He's good at sneaking. He's good at hiding. He was able to get into the bar while, you know, sneaking through kind of the roof and everything, while the other characters had no idea he was even there. Even Kenshin didn't realize he was there until he was already there. Kenshin immediately picked up on how he got in, but he didn't actually see him come in. So even though, you know, he's physically weak and they were able to knock him out with one punch, you have to consider the skill set that's at play here, that he could literally sneak in this place and even Kenshin could not pick him up, and he has like these little hidden darts. So it's meant to be covert, it's meant to be hidden, it's meant to be out of the line of public, like out of sight, out of mind, that kind of thing. Working again behind the scenes, kind of relating to Megumi's character a little bit, but going even further. And that's when you realize later in the episode that these people are part of what's called the Oniwaban group, which are essentially a group of ninjas or former renowned ninjas of a certain point in time, people that, deal within, hidden tactics and hidden weapons and mysterious techniques and espionage and, lurking within the shadows. That's what these people are. And I love the scene at the end or towards the end where the two henchmen of Kanryu kind of wash up on shore. You see that they killed the bodies. Again, in the 90s version, you see them about to be killed, but you don't see this scene. And I really like this scene in the manga, and I'm glad that we finally got around to animating it because I think it showcases a lot of great things about all of the characters. First of all, you have Kenshin, Sanosuke, and Megumi there who see the bodies washed up. Kenshin immediately notices Kanryu, which is the entrepreneur. He's kind of like the rich businessman character, the guy that's actually in charge of the things that are going on here. The guy with the money to hire the Oniwaban group to basically be his personal bodyguards and to do his dirty work, right? So he's managed to hire them. So we have this rich, shady guy that stands out, and then you have Aoshi who stands out and who just his presence alone, and it's not just his coat. He's got a badass, really pimped out coat that I kind of wish I had, but I probably couldn't pull off. But it's not just his coat that makes him cool. It's the presence that he gives off. Kenshin immediately senses, like, this guy is the real deal. Like, this guy is not to be fucked around with. And when Megumi sees him, she was able to point out to Kenshin, like, this guy is not only part of the Oniwaban ninjas, he's the leader, and he became the leader when he was only 15. So this guy is without a doubt, like, no joke, right? So he's being built up as something very, very important. And you don't get that as much in the 90s version as you do here and as you did in the manga. So I like that. But also, on the flip side, when it shows Aoshi there, he is also able to pick out Kenshin right away. And it showcases several abilities of the Oniwaban because he talks to Beshimi about it. And then he also talks to somebody else that's in the crowd that nobody sees and nobody notices, basically hiding in plain sight, right? So where is he? Is he like wearing a mask? Is he one of the people? Or is he, just hiding behind the people? Like, where is this guy? It's the kind of thing where, like, in a very crowded area, two characters could pass each other and relay a bunch of important information and nobody around them even knows that they were talking to each other. That's kind of the level that the Oniwaban group is on. So while Aoshi's there, he's already talking to somebody that's just in the crowd, and they're just like, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody notices. They're so good at what they do, and they're so precise that it just kind of like goes under everybody's noses. So I really like that. And then you also see Kanryu, how he's a little bit more stuck up, how he's like, oh, you're too lenient, on your men. These people were useless to me, so I just cut them out, So again, they're all working together, but you see how they have their differences in the way that they carry out things. And Megumi's full involvement in the situation is not revealed in this episode, so I'm not going to spoil it, but we do see little packets of opium fall out of her kimono, and opium, of course, is a very powerful, very dangerous drug, outlawed, and it's how one of Sanosuke's friends passed away. He overdosed on opium. How did he get it? Where did he get it from? Where did he get enough to overdose from? Well, this mysterious girl comes out of nowhere, saying she's a damsel in distress and drops these packets of opium. So there's bound to be a connection there somewhere, but I'm not going to go into what it is exactly. So she's definitely hiding things. Like, there's definitely things behind her eyes that she's not giving out. She's specifically telling Kenshin, like, look, I'll tell you all the guards he's got. I'll tell you all the people I met, everyone I know about, but I'm not telling you about the opium. So it sets up a lot of really cool things because it sets up this mysterious character, Megumi. Why is she running from them? Was she working with them? Was she, what is her involvement in all of this? And then it's saying the Oniwaban group is here. They're working for Kanryu, and they already know where Megumi is. Like, their recon, their resources, they're ninjas, all right? All right, they're fucking ninjas. They already know where Kenshin is. It's not going to be that hard to find them. Plus, there's probably not many people with red hair and a cross-shaped scar and a reverse blade sword just kind of walking around town. So, probably don't even have to be ninjas to find Kenshin. Also, he did have that big moment where he fought the policeman in broad daylight, so people probably know where Kenshin lives just off the bat. But you know what? Even if they didn't, the ninjas would be able to find it easily. And this episode ends introducing yet another member of the oniwaban, the giant, like massively powerful guy named Hyotoko, whose ability we don't see yet, so I'm not going to spoil that, but he is yet another member of the oniwaban. And yeah, so he crashes in through here. Now, again, the 90s episode takes this scene a little bit further because they skip the scene at the docks where they find the two dead bodies, which I think is extremely unfortunate because I just explained like how important that scene is. So because they added that in, then this episode cut a little bit short as opposed to where episode 8 of the 90s cuts. So from this point on, they're going to be completely different. But I really enjoyed this episode. I really love the introduction. Aoshi is going to be a force to be reckoned with, along with the oniwaban group in general. They released some promo art of all the major characters, and I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a character named Hanya, who you will meet. He's in the trailer. He's in the promo art. I won't say anything about him, but I really love the design that they gave him, and I can't wait to see him in action. So, I mean, all the oniwaban are great, but Hanya and Aoshi are definitely the standouts for me. But anyways, guys, really enjoyed it. Excited to get into this oniwaban section and see what happens here and see what the anime is able to pull out, because there's quite a bit of differences between this portion of the manga and the original 90s. So we're going to be able to do a lot of things here that we haven't seen before. And this is kind of the moment that I was getting ready for or waiting for, is that finally getting to moments in the new anime that are not just reanimated from the 90s, but are going to be completely different. So I'm excited to see it. So let me know what you guys thought about this down below. If you're a Kenshin fan or if you like these reviews, go ahead and comment and leave a like, because it will help it out in the algorithm. I notice I'm picking up a little bit more Kenshin fans as I do these reviews, and I do plan to review every episode because RUROUNI Kenshin is a series that's very close to my heart. It's my second favorite manga of all time, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, this has been such a joy, such a treat to watch all these new episodes and feel like I'm a teenager again, like watching the first series. Like, it's kind of like, it's nostalgic, but it's also new. I don't know. It's really great. It's really fun. So let me know what you guys think down below. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you next time.